And our fifth and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Freddy Telusse, who writes, "Hey there, John and Rob. So I'm writing this after just getting home from seeing Suicide Squad. I've heard you and other critics raving about it, so I expected it to be good. But god damn, that was one of my favorite movies I have ever seen. How does James Gunn do it? Because the movie wasn't just fun. I damn near had tears in my eyes over that Ratcatcher scene. You know the one I'm talking about. Seriously, what makes him so good?" All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, listen, Suicide Squad, it's here now. It was out. You may have seen it in theaters last night. It, unfortunately, HBO, Warner Brothers is sabotaging the film by also having it on HBO Max, but whatever. So they're sabotaging its box office. Whatever. But Suicide Squad is now out. I saw it a couple weeks ago. Ann and I went to go see it again last night. And again, just so amazed by the film. And by the way, just so you guys know, on Sunday, going to be doing a open spoiler discussion of Suicide Squad. So Sunday at 4 p.m. Los Angeles time, we're going to be doing an open spoiler discussion of Suicide Squad. So if you're interested in talking about it, in the whole idea of an open spoiler environment, come on back. We're going to do that there. So we're not going to give any spoilers away here. But again, I walked out of that theater again last night and totally wowed again. Again, I don't want to overemphasize. I'm not pretending it's a top 3 greatest comic book movie of all time, but it's magnificent. It's absolutely fun. And when I came out of it, I did start thinking about this. Like, how on earth did he start this off? And guys, I don't know if you saw it, but I did a video with Ann last night. And because Ann saw it for the first time, and we came out of the theater and I put the camera on Ann. I said, "Ann, what did you think about it?" And this is what Ann said. "It's like Warner Brothers gave James Gunn cocaine, all the money he wanted, and said, make whatever movie you want." And that's what you get. And it's like, they should totally put that on the poster. It's like Warner Brothers gave James Gunn a bunch of cocaine, all the money he asked for, and then said, make whatever movie you want. And they do. But, everybody, college film students can just put wacky, stupid, ridiculous stuff on screen. Cinema, it does not make. But there's something about James Gunn and his approach to this that when you do come out of the theater, you're like, not only did we have this wacky, wild ride, I feel as a cinema fan, I felt fulfilled walking out of it. And, then I got this message from them last night, and it's like, yeah, what is it about Gunn that makes him so good at doing this sort of thing? I mean, even Margot Robbie, this comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter, even Margot Robbie talked about this, where she said, if I read the script and didn't know James Gunn was going to direct it, it would have been a straight up no from me. Robbie told the Hollywood Reporter Monday at the Suicide Squad premiere in Westwood. I was like, no one can pull this off. It's so specific in its brand of comedy and violence, but it came out of his imagination. He knew exactly what to do with it. So what is it about Gunn that, number one, makes him a great storyteller? Whether you go back to things like Super or Slither, or Slither is still my favorite film of his, or Guardians of the Galaxy. What is it? How can he get away with just doing this kind of crazy bonkers stuff where other people can't a lot? And guys, I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, but I think it's this. I think the key to James Gunn being so good at this stuff is that for almost every bonkers thing that happens, he puts emotional, he puts an emotional anchor on almost every bonker things that happens. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, without giving spoilers away, like I'm about to describe a scene. If you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen the movie, it'll go right over your head. So don't even worry about it. But like, there's a scene in the movie where I felt like we learned everything that 45 minutes of exposition in film could have given us. And we learned everything we needed to know about King Shark in a moment. They're driving by down the street. King Shark is in the bus, and he sees a couple hugging and kissing each other. And then Gunn puts the camera on King Shark's face. And I feel like in that moment, James Gunn communicated to us what another filmmaker would have taken a half hour of exposition to tell us about the character of King Shark and his emotional state and what his motivations are and what his yearnings are and all that kind of stuff. And from that point on and everything else in the movie, I was able to look at King Shark and everything he does through that emotional lens. Ratcatcher. I won't even describe the scene because I don't want to risk giving away too much, but you guys know Ratcatcher, specifically Ratcatcher 2. They establish what her emotional anchor is for every way that she acts, how her character is, and what her motivations are. And I just feel Polka Dot Man. They totally do that with Polka. Like, there is underlying emotional weight to why every character is the way they are. And with every action they take, it sings back to that emotional anchor. And when I realize that, you go back and you look at things like Guardians of the Galaxy, and you understand James Gunn didn't just want a kick-ass soundtrack in the movie. Those songs were the emotional anchor of Peter Quill to his mother, to his past, to who he was, such a part of his identity, that emotional anchor. It's Gamora. When you really go look back at Guardians of the Galaxy, Gamora, everything's anchored in the emotional weight of where she came from and all that kind of stuff. It's what he does. He doesn't just even Starro himself had emotional impetus that pushed him along in the thing. And that is what makes James Gunn special. He does, like so many other filmmakers, you just go, you should show a titty and have a guy's head blow up. Any idiot can do that. But he does it while making it extremely emotionally satisfying at the same time. And I'll tell you what, it's an amazing, rare skill that he has that makes him able to do that. And again, these are just things I've really only started thinking about in the last couple of days. Anyway, Kim, you had a chance to watch Suicide Squad. We don't want to do a full review, but in general, what did you think of it? Because you and I haven't talked about it. And what makes James Gunn, after watching that, like such a special director?
You know, I've got to say he is a special director because I'm a fan of cake. I like a good 7-Up cake. I like German chocolate cake. A cake that I don't like is meat cake. Okay, I have a problem seeing on screen chunks and guts and blood and gore. I don't like meat cake. You know, when someone blows up and it's just meat cake, I can't do that. I get nauseous. I actually am not a fan of hyper-violent films. All that to say this. This film actually had a lot of stuff that I don't typically like or vibe with. However, he really won me over in his storytelling style. And that's to say a lot, because normally I'm not a blood, guts, and gore. That doesn't do it for me. And so normally I would have gone, this isn't for me, and kind of turned it off. But what I like about him is he knows that people like crazy. He knows that people like violence. But he understands, again, today, the theme of today is the secret sauce. He understands that the secret sauce, and John, I think you put it perfectly, is that he anchors it in emotional ties. And I think that's what made this film, because for me, Polka Dot, and again, I'm not going to spoil anything, Polka Dot Man was my favorite.
He's so good.
He stuck out to me. He was so good.
So good in it.
And also, he didn't, the way he really crafted the film, it didn't require a whole lot of, because you have a lot of characters with a lot of backstory, with a lot of issues. Talk about an ensemble. Like, you got a lot going on there in terms of characters. And God, I'm not going to go into how the movie, there's a lot of bombastic things in here, but he doesn't use like 20 minutes of exhibition to catch us up. He kind of, like you said, I thought that was a great example, John, of that little scene.
With
I know
King
exactly
Shark,
what you're talking about. But he does the same with Polka Dot Man. Like, very briefly, he kind of explains what's going on with him. And you're like, oh, I get it. You're not like, oh, wait, that wasn't enough. I need more. And it does tug at your heart. I mean, amidst the blood, guts, and gore, it does tug at your heart. And I thought John Cena I was really like, I don't know about this Peacemaker television show. I don't know about this. I'm excited. John Cena was really funny. He brought the muscle like always, but I thought he had great chemistry with everyone. Idris Elba, as always, perfection. But I thought the whole cast was great, and he's a really great storyteller that adds heart to the cocaine.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Anyway, Rob, you also had a chance to watch Suicide Squad. So I don't even know if you liked the film or not. So it may be a ridiculous question to ask because maybe you didn't like the movie. But I mean, this is a movie that could have gone wrong 1,000 different ways in almost any other director's hands. James Gunn was able to do something in a movie with characters called King Shark and Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher that, I mean, almost defies imagination. What makes James Gunn so special? And what do you think that was so unique about James Gunn that he was able to bring to Suicide Squad?
Well, to me, you kind of nailed it, but I would say more, to me, it's his holistic approach. The first thing you have to do is you have to establish that there is a world that exists that these characters can actually exist in. And I think, like, the Amanda Waller character, when she's talking about King Shark, and she is speaking about him like he's a shark god with absolute conviction. You're like looking at her thinking, well, if she's serious about it, and what James Gunn has to do is you have to first build. You've got your characters, but then you have to make us believe in them. And so you'll have all of these disparate characters, and we like the characters, but if they don't exist then in a milieu that you believe that they could all exist, there's so much going on, and he has to be an architect and in a very three-dimensional way. You can't just have these fun characters and put them together if the world around them you didn't believe in. Like, it's so funny. You're looking at the Corto Maltese. Let's talk about the people that run the country. If you didn't believe that they're real, there's so much going on. Like, one of my favorite things in this movie that I was really curious about is the origin of Starro. And it's not, I don't want to say what it is, but I just liked the way it was presented, where you're like, oh, now I believe. In a very smart, economical bit of storytelling, James Gunn makes you understand who and what Starro is, where he came from or where it came from, and you get it. You understand it because and a lot of other filmmakers wouldn't have done it like that. And so you buy into all of this because there's a holistic three-dimensional approach to everything. And no one ever thinks like, well, we've got these wacky characters and violence, so that'll be enough. Well, it's never enough. You need to, I hate to say it, but there is great verisimilitude within the world that the Suicide Squad creates.
It feels weird to say it.
I think what you pointed out, like that was something that cutaway, the King Shark cutaway that you already mentioned, really stuck out to me. Because I was thinking, if you think about that cutaway that they had to create, they had to set that shot up. It's a single shot, but you're out on location, and a lot of people might be like, you don't need that shot. You could, from a production standpoint, that's a lot. That's one POV shot with a lot of extras at night. Do we really need it? Well, James Gunn said, no, we do need it, because what that does is it builds the world that you need. And when you give a character like King Shark, you immediately humanize a character in one shot, one POV shot. And imagine that collectively with all of the different characters is what makes you believe in that ridiculousness. And once you believe in that ridiculousness, then you can do whatever you want. I mean, there was all kinds of little, I wouldn't call them throwaways, but little gags in the film. Michael Rooker has something that was unexpected.
Yes, he does.
And I was like, and after it, I don't want to say what happens, but I was like, oh, like I felt bad. Like in the middle of the thing, I'm like, oh, but it said something about that character that you wouldn't have expected, because he's established as one thing and then he's shown to be something else. And I'm like, that constant subversion makes you believe and love the world and the characters. And that is a really hard thing to do. And James Gunn is a novelist. People forget he wrote a great novel called The Toy Collector. He worked his way up as a screenwriter. He's been an actor. He's worked on studio projects like Scooby-Doo. He understands making movies in a very holistic way that I think a lot of filmmakers do not.
By the way, can I just say off the thing here? I want a Weasel short film. I want a made strictly for online. I want them to do like a 7-minute Weasel short film so badly.
Right?
By the way, I just want to shout out Peter Pacheco, our friend Peter Pacheco, and Dr. Merrill, both send in super chat badges in the live chat. Thank you guys. Appreciate that very much. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. First of all, have you seen Suicide Squad? If not, you really should. But if you have, like, why does something like this work when, like, even Margot Robbie said, like, if I read the script and it was anybody else directing other than James Gunn, it'd be like, no way. What is it about James Gunn that makes him so good at doing these types of things? How did you guys feel about it? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.